So the question and answer section for the day 3 of the summer section continues from here. So we are going to present, of course, one after the other. So the first question there is, sir, can this ML be applied to social science studies, especially in the field of gender and developmental studies? And I think that was where we stopped last week. Yeah. Yes, the answer is a very big capital yes. Yeah, it can be applied. So provided you can make data. Once data set is available, the good thing about machine learning is you can always apply it to solve any problem you can just imagine. Now, actually, it's becoming something that just think about the problem, you have a way of applying it to it. The next thing is, okay, how can I get the data? And the good news is data could be gotten from several sources, including our common questionnaire platform. We know some of the social science studies, educational studies, they usually have questionnaire. Those questionnaires could be converted to the regular data that we can use to build model. So, and make the necessary either analysis or predictive solution or clustering, just trying to understand the pattern of response from your targeted audience. So social science studies is not an exception. So especially gender and developmental studies are so many other areas, provided we can make it into data whereby we can hypothesize having, like, you know, what we're trying to do is in machine learning is this. You have the target, you want to achieve something, or you want to estimate something. There is an X. This X is usually easier to get. This data is easier to get. You see, so once you can get this data, so we're trying to come up with a kind of hypothesis function. This is during the training process. So during the training process, we can generate an F that subsequently, when you get a new X, we will use this particular model to what is going to be the output of this particular value. So if a particular respondent is giving me a particular value, you can quickly estimate what is likely going to be the suffering or the problem or the challenges that might arise whenever we get this kind of response from our audience. So whenever you can have any data set collected, definitely machine learning can also be used to solve such problem. Now, I hope that the question is clear. The next question is, sir, does this cross-fold method not exposing our testing sample to the model already? Yeah, I think this question is talking of when we talk about n-fold cross validation. N-fold cross validation. And that will make us to kind of revisit once again the idea of how do we check generalization abilities of our models. See, this is very important. See, last week also we mentioned it. We said there are 2 major ways of partitioning your data. So we have the one we call the holdout method. Holdout. Here you divide your data into either 3 or into 2, as the case may be, depending on the size of your data. So you use the first part to train, while you are holding out a particular sizable part of the data for testing. That's why we call it holdout method. See, this particular testing set is never exposed to the model you have trained. However, for the n-fold cross validation, which is the second way of partitioning data, in this case, we are actually exposing each and every part of the data to the system at different time of the day, okay? Or at different time during the training process. This is an example we usually use for us. This is a 10-fold cross validation. It could be 3-fold, it could be 2-fold, it could be 5-fold, it could be as many fold as possible. So the idea is, let's say I have like 1,000 samples. So I divide it then into 10 equal sizes. So that will make it 100. So this one is going to have 100 samples, 100 samples, 100 samples, up to this one. So 100 times 10 is going to be 1,000. So your data is complete. Now, what we do in 10-fold, or what we call n fold. N means you have to specify the number of n. It could be any number you like, but 10 is very common. As you know, to divide samples into 10 is very easy. Division by 10 is quite easier compared to division by 5 and other numbers. However, if your data size is very small, we answered a question like that before. You have like 15 samples. You can't use 10-fold because it will not make sense. You can go for like 3 folds. So that each fold, we have like 5 samples in each of the fold, make it 15. But if you have data up to 100, then you can use 10-fold if you like, or 5-fold, as the case may be. Now, therefore, the questioner is saying, he's saying, does this cross-fold or it mean n-fold, our cross-validation method, is it not exposing our testing sample to the model? This is the question. The questioner is concerned that it seems our model is being exposed to every data partition. Yeah, that is the case. The questioner is right. However, it's not a problem. I will tell you the reason. You see here, at every point in time, we are going to use one set for training, another portion for testing. You see, now this is the fold 1. We call this fold 1, P1. In this fold, we use the partition 2 to 10, which is going to be 9 portions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We add them together. That's going to make like 900 samples now. We use all these 900 for training, and we use this testing set for testing. Note that the system is never allowed to see this one before. It's reserved, it's separated. So we only train using these first 9 portions. So we are going to use this for testing. So at this stage, you can see that the system is never allowed to see this one before we use it for testing. So we are going to record the result. Maybe at this case, we have like 95% accuracy, let's say, in the testing set. We record it and take note. We move to the next fold. This is fold 2, fold number 2. In this fold, you can see that this was used for testing before, but now it's going to be part of the training. So this one, up to the end, we mark them together. It's going to be another 900 sample. We're going to use this one for testing. Pay attention to this. You see, at this point, the model we have trained before is gone. This one we already deal with it. We train and test. Finish. The next one is like a new data now. You see, the model is not seen, has never seen anything of such. You see, because this is a totally, it's like you are training a fresh system. We are training with this, all the 9 portions, and we're going to use this one for testing. So as far as this model is concerned, it has never seen this before for this training pattern. So you are going to have another testing set. Maybe here we got 92%. You are going to repeat it continuously until you do it for the 10 folds. This is going to be fold number 10. Maybe also we achieve 97% accuracy. Of course, we're going to be getting different results because you are using different testing sets to check. You see, it's like we have 25 students in this class. We train with 24 of us and use the 25th person to test. Next time, the 25th person is part of the training. Now we use another student to do the testing. So that is why the result will keep varying. Now, so at the end of the day, we're going to have 10 results. You see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is the 10th one. So we're going to find the average results. You see, the idea of n-fold cross-validation is that we want to have a kind of a proof of concept. We want to check that, okay, instead of using only one testing set, because the idea is we have only tested using this one. What if we use this for testing? Are we still going to have the same result? If we use this for testing, so we try to change the partition portion of the data for testing. At the end of the day, we're going to find the average result. Let's say I'm now getting average of 96%. Now, the idea is that it is communicating something to the system that, look, it means this data set from this area, if we get enough data, we can actually get something reasonable as our final result. Because for cross-validation, we use every portion to check. The idea is to communicate to us that, because some people used to say, for this method, when you use this for training and then this for testing, some people say, well, this could be a random result because you are only using this for testing. What if you use this guy for testing? Are you going to still get the same result? So this is why some people believe, okay, cross-validation will give us a kind of a clear understanding of how the complete data set will respond to different models we are building. So that is why at every point, we are going to build and test using different partitions. So to expose our data at different points. But this does mean that you can see that each stage, each testing set is being exposed at least after the training. After training, we check. After training, we check. After training, we check. So at no time did we ever give any testing result to the system. And each model is going to be different after every testing. So in essence, it's not that maybe we are exposing your data, we are letting the data really see the testing set. No, at no point do they ever see the testing set, by the way. Because every training is separate from this one. The result of this will not affect this. Result of this one will not affect this. So each training and testing is separated from the other one. So it's not a case of exposing the testing set to the model. We only try to see how the model will perform on every portion of the data set. So it's a further confirmation to us that the training and testing we have done is not random. This is what cross-validation is telling us. And we only go for it when the data set is very few. However, for proof of concept, sometimes people just go for it for the sake of convenience, just to check how every partition is going to behave as far as our modeling is concerned. And sometimes we use the two at the same time. We use both tenfold cross-validation side by side with holdout method, and we try to compare the result and see the way things are going. And especially if the earlier researchers, if they use tenfold, then you need to use tenfold. When you are going to finally deploy your model for your clients, the holdout method is the best one to use for your client deployment, because we want to see sizable number of data sets being used, and then you can then deploy the model so that new samples in the real time could now be predicted or could be estimated or classified. Now, so that is on this question, that does the cross-validation expose our testing sample to the model already? So it's not exposing it. At each fold, the testing set is kept separate from the training set at every fold. So at no time is the testing set exposed to the model before the testing. No, it never happened. But however, cross-fold validation gives us the opportunity to check every fold. It means every part of the data set will be used for testing at a point in time so that we can see a kind of an average performance of the system on the data from your area of specialization. Now, so that is on that. So we move on to the next, which is question 11. Before we move to question 11, so I believe we have maybe we have a kind of follow-up question to what I just answered now, because saying what is the number of data values that can be used in machine learning? What is the kind of data value that can be used in machine learning? So, well, there's no minimum number. The more the data, the data sample we have, the better. So there is really no minimum, but at least we have worked with 15 samples, even 11 sometimes. But the more you have, the better, actually. Yeah. So because the more you have, then the better the possibility of getting better acceptable results. Yeah. Yeah, it is right. So the models are generated during the training process and then the testing as validation. Yeah, you are right. So the model training takes place, then the validation or testing. People use validation or testing in an interchangeable manner. If you divide your data into 3 portions, then you are going to have them separate. See, if you are using this approach, You have training set 50% or 75%, and then 15% for validation, and then another 15% for testing. This, when your data is sizable, you can divide it to 3. In that case, you have validation, then testing separately. It's just nomenclature. But when you only divide into 2 portions, then the first one is going to be training, and the second point is going to be testing. Or some people also call it the validation, as the case may be. Now, question 11 says, please, I just try to access the diabetes data set through the provided link via WhatsApp, and decide say the data does not appear to exist. So I want to believe that's this question came in long time ago during the meeting, during the summer school. And thereafter that, we actually provided the data set, which was the data set on how to try to diagnose diabetes using questionnaire. You see, yeah, it's a very old data, but still very instructive and very useful. And we're actually having an ongoing research in this direction, that some people are so busy that they don't have time to go to the clinic. So either they are so busy they don't have time, or there is no clinic for them, or they don't have the financial capability to seek for that medical intervention. We try to see, is it possible for us to use machine learning to predict if someone is having diabetes by just asking basic questions. And the initial study have shown that we have obtained up to 95% accuracy, and we still try to improve it further. That by asking very basic questions, we can be able to tell people that they might need to check themselves up for diabetes. Because this kind of things is very, very important. Yeah, it's very, very important that we have them. A lot of people suddenly get broke, suddenly collapse. By the time they realize that they're having actually very high late diabetes disease. However, they were never diagnosed, and they themselves have no clue that they were suffering from such chronic disease. So having this kind of system, we might facilitate that we can quickly get the diagnosis before it gets out of hand. So if anybody needs data, you can also engage us in the platform. I want to believe the data set will be provided, and the link also be provided accordingly. Now, so how do I install the Weka? As to explain on the screen, I don't know what you click that bring the screen. Well, Weka is, as the case may be, we share the link, just download it. It's very straightforward, I want to believe. So we can download it easily. I think this is Weka. Yeah, you can see Weka on my screen now. You see, once you have the Weka here, you can click Explorer. You can also click Experimenter, whichever one you want to use. So you can evoke it appropriately, as the case may be. Now, you can also click the Experimenter, which is going to long the Experimenter part of Weka for us to use. Once you click the Explorer or Experimenter, as case may be, you can see here now, this is Weka Explorer. You can see here. So once you have the Explorer open for you, so you have to pre-process, classify, cluster, associate, select attribute, visualize, and other things you can do. So, however, the first thing is, before all this can become activated for you to use, you need to open your data. That's the first thing to do. You need to select data set to open. So in which case, you need to try to say, okay, what is our Weka experiment? We would try, let's try to open one data set there. This is our Weka. This is Weka summer school data set. That was the data set we use for demonstration. However, you can see the data set, nothing is showing, because here the file type that Weka usually looks for is ARFF data file. However, we use data in Excel, then CSV file. So that's why you have to here, let it show for you CSV data file. Then you can see the file you are looking for. This is our data file, diabetes data upload. So we open it. Once you open it, this is the data set. You have age, gender, polyvia, polydipsia, sudden weight loss, weaknesses. These are basic questions on that data set. By asking very few questions from people, we want to predict if that person is negative or positive to diabetes. So this is how we launch Wika, and I think there are other videos in our YouTube channels on how to use Wika and how to explore different classification algorithm as the case may be. Now, so hopefully that clarify the question on Wika. Now we move further. The next question is, can machine learning work as SPSS and other data analysis software? Well, it depends on what you mean by the SPSS. I know this SPSS is a popular package, but we can see that machine learning is an advanced form of those analysis tools. Most of the SPSS and other data analysis, they are mostly based on statistical analysis. So machine learning, whatever you can do there, you can as well use machine learning to do it better, by the way. Yeah. So like we used to use this statistic for some of our earlier modeling in oil and gas and host of others. But we noticed the machine learning had the capability to provide more detail and also superior output in terms of accuracy and predicting closer to the actual value that you expected. So we can say ML can do whatever SPSS could do in a better way, depending on what the user actually is talking about. Because most of the functions in SPSS, they are all about trying to do either regression modeling, trying to use regression method to estimate or to identify. So machine learning can provide this capability at a higher level. And one of the very unique capability that make machine learning to now become a very promising part of data analytics is especially with the coming of big data. Let me clarify this. With the coming of big data, usually statistics, big data is not a new thing, or data analytics is not a new thing. It's as old as what can ever imagine. But however, they use statistics to solve this problem. However, with the coming of big data, one of the attributes of big data is what we call velocity. Velocity means speed, moving data. The data is constantly being updated, and we need to take decision as the data is coming in without waiting. However, one of the limitation of a statistical method is that you need to freeze the data before you can do statistical analysis on your data. You have to get the data frozen for some time, and then you have to analyze. Then statistics can work on your data and give you the results, whatever you want, SPSS or any other package you want to use. However, with velocity, the data is moving constantly, and we need to take decision quickly. So that is why machine learning had that capability of modeling the data that is in motion. You don't need to freeze your data before you can do the modeling. So imagine someone, as maybe you use Google, you are using Google Drive, Google Map. As you are driving, you arrive at city A. As you are arriving that city, you may start getting alerts of promotional sales. Oh, so supermarket is selling something there. Because immediately you arrive, Google will have sold your data to them that, hey, so person is traveling, is now in capital A, and they start bombarding you with promotion. Beside your hotel there is a promotion, say you can buy this, get one, and all those kind of business promotion that we do receive. However, in the next few minutes, maybe you have crossed to city B, which means if they don't give you the alert as soon as possible, the alert will become useless because you already changed your location to another city. So which means if they have to frozen the data for a few seconds or few minutes to analyze your data before determining where you are, the result will be too late because it will be useless. So this is why machine learning, because of the capability of being able to model data with that is moving, data in motion. So this is why machine learning has become the favorite for big data analytics. We want to do big data analytics that either model data, either in motion or no emotion. Machine learning has that capability. But for data in motion, statistics don't have that capability. And this is one of the differences between having statistical modeling tools and also machine learning modeling tools. So hope that clarified. Question 14. What is the difference between in running the data in Explorer and Experimenter? Okay, well, running the data in Explorer is the simple one where you do the direct experiment. As I've said, you just load your data and then you select machine learning algorithm like a K nearest neighbor, and then you run it. Click, the model is generated already. But in Experimenter, sometimes you want to run many experiments. You must even run many data sets at the same time, not only one data set. You see? So you experimenter option, we give you that option. You can create, you can take in data one, you can load, open as many, set up as many KNN, ANN, neural network, support vector machine, open data two, then set up another KNN for it, open as many data as possible, as many algorithms as possible. You set it up and you can click run, and then you can go and sleep, by the way. You wake up tomorrow to come and meet your result in Excel or whatever option you have set up, that once it finishes, it should store your result in a particular file. So this is experimental. So it gives you the opportunity to run many experiments, and then you can, maybe you want to search for parameters now. Instead of doing one by one, like K, we discussed parameter optimization briefly there. Let's say we want to run KNN, in which case you have K nearest neighbor. So one of the upper parameter is K. You have to check K is 1. If it is binary classification, K is 3, K is 5, K is 7. You keep trying one by one. So it means for the normal, when you use the Explorer, you're going to run K for K is equal to 1. You run it. You change the value to 3, you run it again. You change it to 5, you run it again. You keep changing and running. That is one by one. However, when you use Experimenter, you set up everything at a go, and you just click run, and then it runs many experiments for you. And then you go and look at your result in Excel, and you see you can select the best hyperparameter values to be used. So this is the difference between running the data in Explorer and running the data in the experimental mode. And this you can see here. This is the weaker. Yeah, this is the experimenter. You see, in the experimenter area, you have to set it up. Like I said, you can see data sets. You can use as many data sets as possible. Set, is it classification or regression you want to do? So have the data set. Then which data set you want to set up first? Is it you want to first of all set the data set before you set the algorithms? Or you want to set the algorithm first? So you can play with it, set as many as possible things you want to do, then click run, and it will run everything for you one after the other, and it will put your result. This is the result destination here. You can set where you want the result to be stored. So after running, maybe after a few hours or the second day, you just go there, pick your result, and start analyzing your work. So whereas for the case of Explorer, you only just select one classifier. Maybe I want to select lazy classifier, the IBK, K nearest neighbor. So, and I just say start. So I've run the experiment using K to be 1. Now I want K to be 3. I'll change it again, and I'm going to run it once again. You can see another model is generated. So you're going to do it one after the other for the experimenter, but for the Explorer. But for the experimenter, it allows you to set up many experiments at the same time, and you can run them as a group and pick the result later in an Excel or whichever file you have designated for the purpose. So that is the difference between running data in Explorer and Experimenter. And I believe we have, if you look at our summer videos on how to use the practical demonstration of Weka, we actually describe this. We can see it there for reference, and we have other earlier Weka explanation on Weka in our platform. 15, what is the full meaning of WICA? Of course, it's written the Waikato Environment for Knowledge Analysis. So it's just a name given. So it's produced by University of Waikato. So that's their own way of contributing to the open source software policy. So it's a free software being managed for use for data mining and machine learning application. Yeah. The good news is that every time you see the WICA, they keep updating it with new capabilities. So like I told us before, you just go to the WICA package manager, you search for it, you see new packages, you can easily add those new packages to the list. Perhaps if you install your own before, let's see here, you just go to you can see here, you have tools. You see, you can see package manager. So when you launch the package manager, you can search for new package that has just been added to WICA. So for example, now this is the package manager. So you can search for, maybe you search for deep learning. See, deep learning. Sorry, deep learning. Yeah. If anything related to it is there, it will bring it out for you. So then you can add it to it. Let's say I want to search for SVM, let's say, for example. Yeah, you can see here now, it brings out library of linear SVM and other classification. I just click it and I can install it. So whatever new functionality you need to check up regularly. So you can always search here whatever you want that is not already present in your home package, because new capabilities are being added to WICA every time. So this is how you can always add stuff to it. That is on the full meaning of WICA. Next is how can we conduct ensemble classification using the experimental tool? The same way you conduct the normal experiment, the normal explorer experiment, the same way you can also conduct the ensemble classification. Ensemble classification is just combination of many models into one. In the standard one, we showed to us before that you can have here, this is a WICA Explorer. In the Explorer, you can have here, see, these are called meta classifier. When you see meta classifier, everything inside this meta classifier, they are ensemble. We have other bulls, additive regression, classification via regression, everything here. There are different types of ensemble methods. So we can use any of them as the case may be. You see? So we have stacking, we have voting, and we also refer us to our earlier videos on how to do stacking, how to do voting, and other ensemble types that we have discussed, and we also demonstrated them using WICA. Now, so each of this one, you just select it, maybe you select voting, that's solved, you are ready to go with your classification. So in the same way, in the experimenter, you follow the same principle. You see, load your data, and then the good news in experimenter is you can set up several ensembles, just like you are setting up individual classifiers in the experimenter. You can have voting, you can have stacking, you can have other bulls, you can have decision forest, and so many other type of ensemble. And then you click run, everything will run, and the result will be sent to Excel or whatever designated file you have specified. So this is how ensemble work. I mean, this is how ensemble can be carried out in other class experimenter or explorer platform of the WICA system.